Nairobi.
Well, 4 people, among them 1 child, have perished in the inferno that raised down the popular toy market in Nairobi. That story is what we have actually shared with you, and the cause was not immediately established. But of course, you have seen that a number of the irate residents hurled stones at Governor Johnson Sakaja. Now, the cabinet nominees, John Mbadi and James Opiyo Wandayi, have today defended their fierce attacks on President William Ruto's government on the floor of the House during their tenures as opposition members of parliament. They said they were simply doing their jobs and that their stances then would not affect their delivery, and pledged their loyalty to President William Ruto. Our reporter David Muthoka has returned from parliament, and here is the report.
I, John Mbadi Ngongo, do swear.
John Mbadi Ngongo, the cabinet secretary nominee for the crucial treasury docket, was the first nominee to sit on the hot seat on Saturday. Mbadi, who until recently was a harsh critic of the President William Ruto-led government, stood by his fierce criticism of the head of state and the government, saying he was simply doing his job as an opposition member of parliament.
It's gone viral, widely known, that you referred to the cabinet secretaries then as skunks. Now you find yourself as one of the nominees. Are you a skunk?
Mr. Speaker, I have a duty, up to now, to vet and approve President's appointees. I must discharge that mandate properly. And that is what I did. I am moving to the other side of the executive. I will not have that mandate anymore. It is now the mandate of Honorable Naisula and the rest of us to determine whether John Mbadi is a skunk or not.
In a turn of events that political observers may never have seen coming, Mbadi further pledged his loyalty to President William Ruto should he be confirmed as the country's next treasurer, but promised that he will not be a yes man.
Those who know me know my level of firmness. That does not mean I'm disrespectful. You must know who your boss is. You must know where your loyalty lies. But loyalty does not mean that you must be a yes person.
Mbadi, who expressed his desire to get started as soon as possible, even changed his tune on some of the government's development agendas, such as the bottom-up economic transformation agenda BETA that he hugely criticized.
Bottom-up is actually a concept of UDA, read Kenya Kwanza. But I want to tell him that if you look at the philosophy of UDA and ODM, there is no difference. Actually, the two are social democrats.
Yes. I, James Opiyo Wandayi.
His former colleague in the opposition benches and former minority leader James Opiyo Wandayi, who is now the cabinet secretary nominee for energy, also defended his previous onslaught on the government.
The G2G deal. It's indeed true, Honorable Speaker, that I, alongside my other colleagues, who are vehemently opposed to this scheme. But let me tell you, Honorable Speaker, that was then. And I was doing it as my duty to put government to check.
Other cabinet nominees who sat on the hot seat on Saturday were Trade CS nominee Salim Voria and Tourism CS nominee Rebecca Miano. Former Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen, who has now been nominated to captain the Sports and Youth Affairs docket, was the last nominee to be vetted on Saturday, with ghosts of the alleged lease of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to India farm Adani returning to haunt him.
Some work on Adani at the airport. Would want to hear whether this is a Kipchumba Murkomen who has been accused on social media of selling, in quotes, our airport.
I want to be very clear, Mr. Speaker, to the people of Kenya. I have not, and I do not have the capacity to enter into any PPP as a person, as a cabinet secretary.
Should Murkomen's nomination be approved, his entree includes settling the perennial wrangles in Kenya's football body FKF and the fast-tracking of the construction of stadia ahead of the 2027 AFCON campaign that will be mainly held in the country.
The 4-day marathon vetting of some 20 cabinet secretary nominees is set to enter the home stretch on Sunday, with 5 nominees lined up to sit on the hot seat on the final day of vetting. The 5 include 2 former deputy leaders of the ODM party, 2 former members of President William Ruto's first cabinet, and a new face in Stella Soy Langat, the cabinet secretary nominee for gender. David Muthoka, KTN News at Parliament Buildings, Nairobi.
Thank you very much, David Muthoka, for that story. Meanwhile, various leaders